All right. Welcome everyone. Welcome to the Kubeflow Pipelines community meeting. Today is November 20th, 2024. This meeting is governed by the CNCF Code of Conduct, and the meeting is recorded, and it will be uploaded afterwards to the Kubeflow YouTube channel. So we'll go ahead and start with the agenda. So as always, we give room for folks that are new to this meeting to introduce themselves if they would like to. So the floor is open. If anybody new wants to introduce themselves, go for it.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, I'm kind of new with the project. I'm Valentina from Red Hat. I'm principal architect. And also I started, so I'm a member of the community. I recently joined and I'm part of the release team with Ricardo. So just looking forward to working with you all and start joining also this meeting. So usually I join the release team meetings and the community meetings. So but yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for joining. It's a pleasure to
Of
meet
course.
you.
Thank you. Likewise.
Anyone else?
Hi everyone, this is Karan. I'm joining from Canada. I'm working for a company called Cube Tools, and we are bringing up a recommendation engine for Kubernetes. I primarily works on Kubernetes pipeline, Kubeflow pipelines, and I want to contribute to the community as well. Thanks.
Nice. Nice to meet you. I'm from Canada as well. So whereabouts in Canada?
I'm in Kitchener, Waterloo right now.
Oh, okay. Nice. I used to live in Toronto. I'm in Montreal. All right. Anyone else?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm pretty new to the CNCF landscape. Joined practically a day or two before KubeCon. And I think I'm interested in the Kubeflow project, but I don't know what part. I think someone must have added me to pipeline, so I figured I'll check it out. I'm currently in Washington State, in the US. Nice to meet you all.
Awesome. Nice to meet you as well. Anyone else?
Hi, I'm Christopher Sands. I'm in Arkansas, central US. I'm with Red Hat and am relatively new to some of the downstream products and stuff that we have. So I'm here interested in some of the topics that are going to be discussed today, maybe.
Awesome. Welcome, Chris. Anyone else? All right, let's get started. So I have a couple of topics. I'll just put two at the top for now. I have some at the bottom, but since Chen won't be joining us, I don't know if everybody saw their comment. So I'll probably push those for next time, since I think we kind of need him for that as well. But just a announcement that I put this in Slack for the CNCF pipeline Slack, but there was a API breaking change that went into the SDK 2.10, which was preventing folks from using GPUs. So that has been fixed. So props to Chen for rolling that release out in a matter of like 24 hours after the change went in. So that was like really great to see. Unfortunately, we also found afterwards that there are a couple of other fields that also were API breaking. Probably not as severe, but they are related to being able to specify like CPU limits and requests. So we have, I think, a PR for that right now that's active. And I'll reach out to Chen about what we can do about getting that in another patch release. And if anybody sees anything else that's breaking, now is the time to kind of like really voice that out so we can get that patched as well. Any comments about those? All right.
I wanted to add one 107, that is for the shared memory shim pod failing. I'll just give you the exact. I'll just message the exact GitHub ref. So there is a PR raised for it. So I have also raised in the community Slack channel.
I responded to you in Slack today. Nice to meet you in person. Karan.
Oh yeah, great. I see your response here.
Yeah, I think that might work if you try the Ampidura mount and tell it the specific location and the type of the mount. So give it a try and let me know. I suspect the PR that you're going to link is obsoleted by the thing I already did. So yeah, let me know. And if not, I'll kick the tires on it.
So I see your one message currently. So have you shared another? Maybe it's not loading up. I'll get back to you, but if I don't find it.
That's the shared memory stuff. So sorry, who was that? Was that you, Adimi? I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that name right. But I think that was you. So to follow up, we just put that here.
Nope, that wasn't me.
Oh
It was
no.
it was Karen.
Oh, okay,
Karan.
Karan.
I'm not
Karan.
sure. Can you pronounce your
Whoops.
name for me? Actually, I want to make sure I get it right.
Yeah, Karan.
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 Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And yeah, I messaged you in the CNCF Slack about 2 hours ago. Sorry, I realized I hadn't been logged into CNCF Slack for like 3 weeks until someone pointed it out today.
Okay.
So
No
apologies
issues,
for the
Greg.
delay. Yeah. But yeah, well, let's touch base there and get it working.
Awesome.
Sure. I'll try that. Thanks.
Okay. I have another topic here. We're about parameterizing container images. So this is an ask that's coming from our downstream in Red Hat, and to me, this is, I would imagine, is a pretty widespread feature that I think folks would find useful, which is the ability to be able to parameterize images in your pipelines. There's a issue that like three years ago that was made about this, and apparently this was possible in V1, and it is no longer possible in V2. The one of the reasons for why, or the reason for why that's listed, for why we didn't pursue this further, was because of technical limitations, as from Bob over here, and you can read about that here. But because it was so long ago and we're seeing asks come in, I've created another issue for it. So you can follow that. I've linked it in the docs, and also ping Chen about it to get his thoughts as well. Seems pretty straightforward to me. Not necessarily an expert on the SDK side of things, but we do stuff like this already with setting accelerators. So I don't see why this would be any different, but please do give this a look. And if others find this feature useful, give it your like. And if you feel like they shouldn't go into the project, then also please give your thoughts and any questions, comments, concerns about that. All right, let's keep going. So we have a topic about multi-architecture support for kubeflow pipelines, and it is regarding this issue. So Rehan, are you here, or Dilip, to be able to talk about
Hey,
this?
Umair. Yes, sure. So we are trying to enable Kubeflow pipelines on IBM Z and Power platforms. This is the PR about that. Currently, we are trying to basically build the Docker images and binaries that are required. We'll start with that, and slowly we'll start integrating CI and tests that are needed. This PR only focuses on building those architecture. Um, Building those images on those architectures.
Awesome. So we have some comments here. Greg, would you?
Definitely, I can answer those questions. It's regarding support, right? At the moment we are enabling on Kubernetes, as well as we have plans to enable that on OpenShift and in ODH also. And then we want to support it on those platforms too. So it will be a continuous and long-term support. Definitely.
When you say we, that's IBM, or is that like you and Dilip specifically?
It is IBM. It is coming
Okay.
from IBM. Not. I'm part of IBM Z team.
Is there anything else that you wanted to add, Greg, about your comments here?
I think you're on mute, Craig.
Oh, his mic is not working. I guess we'll give you a bit. I have some questions about builds and build times. My understanding is that this was added to Kserve and it did increase their build times by a drastic amount. What sort of impact can we expect with regards to build times for the images that are being updated?
We try to build natively on our platform. If we are targeting the cross build, we'll have to verify that, and we can confirm once we have that verified.
Awesome. As opposed to so right now the PR primarily looks like it's consisting of Dockerfile changes. Is the long-term support of this, is the expectation that that is what we're primarily going to expect, or is there reason to believe that it'll be way more than that?
No, this is just to start with. Then we want to build it continuously. Maybe you have a GitHub jobs there, right, to build the binaries and all. So we want to add the build pipelines there, and then we also want to add testing also in future. This is just to start with. We are building the Docker images and made changes to Docker images, but definitely we have plans to integrate build pipelines and all those things.
Okay, can we identify the individuals that would be committing to the support of this? We can add.
Currently, me and Rihan are starting with this, and I have one more colleague, Modesar. He will be also working on these projects. I can send the email IDs later.
Who was the other person?
Modesar.
I don't know how to spell their name, but
MODA. Okay, MODASSAR.
SSAR. Okay, so hopefully that's right. And if it isn't, please correct it. Cool. So yeah, if we can get that also added, we can add that as a like additional context in the PR as well. Just providing like where this is coming from, what is the commitment, who is involved, and yeah, so you're saying that, okay, we need to verify the build time, so we should probably follow up on that as well, just so we know what we're kind of like walking into. And anything else about with regards to maintenance burden would be very useful to know, like the kinds of issues that we may expect. I know some of that can be hard to evaluate, but this is more so in the past. We've had scenarios where we've just added support for various different infra, and we did not have the bandwidth to support it, right? So we have to be able to assess that. So anything more they can add here with regards to that would be very useful.
Yeah, I think one thing that we should do to formalize this is also I don't know how many of them are already part of the Kubeflow GitHub org, but maybe work with them to onboard to become members of the Kubeflow community, and also, I don't know, maybe promote them to reviewers so they can help with those maintenance.
100% agree. That would be a good first thing as well to do. If you can submit. Are you guys already part of the Kubeflow community?
We'll have to check that.
Like I'm part of the Kubeflow Slack channel right now.
Okay. I would get, okay, so let's sync up on Slack for that. We should definitely try to get you guys, there's some requirements for that, like you've had to have committed.
I think there is something called there is some agreement between CNCF and IBM, right? We have to complete that. It's kind of a MFA that we have already got. I'm not exactly getting the one, but there is a check when you commit something. There will be a check. Let me check and I'll let you know that.
Yeah, Valentina has
we have
provided a link about membership. Essentially, like generally, if you have had some commits or if you've contributed to the community in some way, and this can come in many forms, you can make a request and you can get sponsors. And so I would at least get that process started just so that we can jump ahead on it. And yeah, so take a look at the links that Valentina is providing in chat. We have some hands raised. Chris.
Yeah, there were mentions of plans for things after the Docker file, so build plans, test plans, and so on. If we could have like some insight into those, if there's a document that's put together on what the build out would look like, what the testing would look like, and so on, like what the proposals are there, that would be useful.
Yeah, sure. So we are currently focusing on build. Test plans is we don't have at the moment, but we can share the builds for now, and then we can work on the testing and we can share that.
Yeah, I guess there were other questions, like you mentioned, building on native hardware. Is this something that you would propose to have integrated with images going along with the existing like upstream images, or is there some other process in place?
Yeah,
Just more lower level details.
yes, sure. We can get the document for builds for now. Then we work on testing. We need some time to finalize those plans, and we can share that once we work on that. But build plan, we can share the document in few days.
Okay, awesome. Thanks. Adam, I'll pass it to you.
Thanks. Hi, Adam Miller, new here, first timer. I had a question. So specifically about doing alternate architectures, does, and pardon my ignorance, does Kubeflow have the concept of like a primary architecture and a secondary architecture, such that when you do these builds, like it will just fire a secondary architecture and like nobody who's not working on implementing or bootstrapping or stabilizing that secondary architecture has to worry about it or look at it. It doesn't impact the primary architectures or the project. Is that a structure that exists today?
Not to my knowledge. Yeah, I don't think so. We can follow up with Chen. I know like Google had a lot of internal build processes that we ported over to GitHub container registry. But we didn't port any sort of like conditionals or any of that such. So I'm gonna go with no. This might be a good opportunity to figure that out.
Yeah, I was mostly I was basically going to, if that doesn't exist, I was going to propose that it does, because I've in the past I've worked on other open source projects where that has been very successful, because the project keeps going and the people who care about the architecture can stabilize it and test it and do all the stuff until they're ready to kind of propose it to become a primary architecture. The struggle then becomes like you have to kind of define what criteria by which an alternate architecture has to meet to be able to become a primary. But I imagine the community can sort that out along the path. But
that is one of my concerns. Like bigger concern is like, what do we do when we're trying to do a release? And well, now we have these new architectures breaking. Like, do we block the release, or what you're proposing would basically be a resolution for that? We like let those that care about add those builds as they are ready, and we stick with our primary.
Yeah. Typically, where I've seen this work before is these secondary architectures are not release blocking, and they have like a separate release stream, and anybody who's interested in those can follow those along and work on them, and pay attention to them, and then when they're ready, then those responsible for the alternate architecture will cut a release and say, okay, we're version 1 dot whatever or 2 dot whatever is now ready. that's an option, and hopefully that would alleviate some of the concerns here.
100% agree. Yep. Yep.
Ish. Dialed in with my phone. All right, that's really weird because I can hear myself. 1 second. So I like that idea a lot. And the other kind of reason I brought this up, I think the other concern I have is like any kind of code changes that will come along. Tamir kind of alluded to this a little bit earlier, but there's a long history of people adding stuff to KFP and then like not sticking around for the long term to maintain it. We have lots of things that we'd like to like deprecate and rip out and stuff. And I just want to make really sure that support for these architectures like isn't another one of the things in that long graveyard. So I don't know like what those code changes will end up being. I can't imagine it'll be a ton of stuff, but seems like treating these as secondary architectures that don't block the primary stuff. And to be clear, like I've not ever seen anyone in the KFP community ask for support on 390 or PPC, right? Like these are clearly IBM product type desires, and so I wouldn't want to have any negative impact to the community here. Is what I'm aiming for. Yeah, thanks.
I don't see it necessarily being overly complicated to add either. But maybe I'm like jumping too far ahead because we use customize and overlays, and we can just have separate builds, and when they're ready, those can be added as separate overlays for whichever architecture that needs to be added support for that particular version. Anyways, we don't have to design that here, but I think that like a lot of folks are treading towards having this be optional and be subject to be supported by those that are committed to supporting it. But okay, so we have some action items here. Let's move on those. So I really do like Chris's suggestions about getting our entire plan for this made more transparent and visible, so we can look at this, what the testing plans will be, what the build plans will be. If we can surface those when they are ready, that would be great. As an aside, we should also consider like how we can add this as a optional architecture as part of releases. Is there anything about those action items that doesn't sound right? Have I missed anything?
So just to confirm, this is outside of the scope of our initial proposal to move the image building infrastructure outside of the Google infra, right?
It's tangentially related because we're talking about builds here. Now we'd want to add those builds as part of like GitHub actions that will push the container registry. So it's not unrelated.
But maybe the documentation should be dependent on this new infra.
Yeah, so that goes into like what the build plans are and what the test plans are. Rehan and Dilip and Modasar, feel free to sync up with me on what the current plan is for how we're going to be doing builds going forward, and I can point you to the right files and docs.
Yeah, sure. We'll connect later.
Okay, sure.
Thank you.
Awesome. Anything else regarding this topic? Cool. All right. Greg, Proto Buff 5.
Yeah, while working on some protobuf update stuff recently, I noticed that we're using rather old versions of the Proto C compiler, and I think of like some of the different like sub plugin language specific plugin versions as well. And I was just wondering if there was any thing that was holding us back from like updating those to the latest versions. And then I think maybe Hamir pointed me to this issue that's linked in the doc for someone asked. Oh yeah, thanks for sharing. For someone asking for the same. I think I'm interested in working on this just from like a learning experience perspective. I don't know that we've prioritized it on our team. I think Chen expressed some interest at the bottom of this issue here, asking if it's something that we were interested in and what a timeline might look like. I don't think we have a timeline. And maybe I would say like if it's something that we do want to do on our team, maybe in the order of months or something like that. But if I would say if Chen or folks at Google have like a more urgent need to take this on, for Vertex or customer reasons, it might be better for them to do that too. It's a shame he's not here. I was kind of hoping to hear his perspective on this, and maybe we could follow up with him in Slack or just tag him on the meeting doc here. Yeah. Anyone else have any thoughts or questions about this? Anyone else have a burning need to update?
Okay, so I'm saying Red Hat current timelines is in the order of months. If there is a
Yeah,
need.
move that bullet up to the agenda item above that one. Yeah, no worries.
Whoops.
You're
All
good.
right, if there is a need for this to be done sooner, we welcome volunteers. Is that fair? So that I probably should get on making the milestone that comes after. I'm thinking either 2.5, which 2.5 sounds March. I think that would fit. Wait, should that be March? It's January. Oh yeah, because we said every once a quarter, right? Yeah. So 2.5 would be what we are targeting, would be the next release. And I can't imagine yeah, because it's protobuf changes, that affects backend, so it has to go in as part of the KFP release. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Any other comments regarding this? Awesome.
Thanks.
One thing I will say is that let's make sure that we're updating like everywhere protobuf is being used, with the exception of MLMD, of course.
Yeah, for sure. The only other thought, I think I put it on the issue or maybe tagged it internally. I think I have like a slight concern about backwards compatibility with like pipeline IR, because like the pipeline IR is basically just like YAMLed out protobuf. I don't think there will be any incompatibilities, but I think as part of this upgrade, I or someone else will have to remember to like make sure that really old compiled pipelines still work just fine. I'm sure they will, but something to check.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to TTL updates. Ricardo.
Okay, so following the discussion we had with the TTL updates, one last thing that was missing for the implementation is to find out a way to remove the database records when the workflow got TTL. So the discussion here, we tried a lot of, we evaluated a lot of options for how to implementing this database cleanup for the TTL workflows. The solution that we believe was the most practical, feasible, is to reuse the persistence agent logic that already watches every change to the workflow CR. And we identify that that happens even when the workflow CR got deleted by manually or by the workflow controller TTL logic. The point here is that that needs some changes to the structure of the persistence agent, but all the logic can be reused from what persistence agent is doing right now. Some other options would be doing some hooks with Argo, which we believe that this is not a good approach because we're making this platform specific. And also thinking of separate logic that goes into API server that does this directly into the API server. Again, we decided that since persistence agent already watches for the CR changes in the workflow, pipeline runs, whatever is the backend pipeline run they're using it, we can reuse that logic to just delete that record when we got an event that the workflow got TTL. So the thing is that based on that discussion, we'd like to know what the community thinks of that approach, if we can move on, or if we believe there's other options that we should include in here that I missed. Yeah, that's a good point. All that discussion is take from the perspective that this has happened at the workflow level, not at the component level. So we're not doing TTL on the component level yet because there's Argo doesn't support that. We are just reusing the TTL strategy fields, and based on that, we are watching every change to the workflow CR, and then we got the CR deleted, all the pods that belongs to that run deleted, and the database record. So we're not thinking of component level TTL at this moment. Yeah, also that's worth asking if it's good to have some TTL at the component level as well. Greg?
Yeah, setting aside the at the component level piece, I think it makes a lot of sense to do this at the workflow level so that, you know, when a pipeline author authors a pipeline, they can set runs to basically self-destruct after some certain amount of time. We know, especially on busy kube clusters, having a bunch of custom resources laying around forever can, you know, seriously impact the performance of the API server and thus the entire cluster. So it makes sense to, you know, have some included in KFP way to clean those up. And the discussion here is basically there's kind of like two high level ways that at least I can think of to implement that. One is to utilize a hook on the workflow itself, because we get workflow deletion, workflow TTL deletion from Argo workflows for free. So tie into that, which is basically what Ricardo is describing. The other way I can think of doing this is doing that ourselves, basically by storing a TTL value in the database, in the MySQL database. So, you know, if there's like a runs table, just add a new column to that with a time to live, or, you know, a time to delete me, time to self-destruct. And then basically just adding a loop to the API server, you know, like a background job. Think of it like a cron job that would run every minute, scanning the database, looking for runs to delete, basically. And so I kind of wanted to raise those two options here. It'd be cool if we had a diagram, but hopefully the way I've described is kind of clear enough. The issue I have with using the persistence agent to do a hook into the workflow, basically it comes down to, if anyone's familiar with the concept of level triggering versus edge triggering, I think if we use the persistence agent here, that's edge triggering. So it's like when something changes is when we do the action of deleting the row. So it's basically when we detect that the workflow is deleted is when we'll do the row deletion. Versus if we have our own job that runs in the API server, or, you know, it could even be implemented as like a rule in the database. That's more level trigger. Like that's going to continuously look for, am I supposed to delete this run? Yes, I'll delete the run. So it's kind of like how you implement continuous reconciliation here. I can see two major problems with using persistence agent. The first one is that persistence agent can be down. And so if it's down and the workflow controller deletes a workflow, API server is never going to get that notification to delete that row. I don't know if persistence agent comes back up. Like I don't think it has any state, right? So like it's not going to know that a workflow was deleted, and so you end up leaking a row. The other way that this can happen is I've had the fortune to work on really busy kube clusters, and when you're in a production situation where there's a whole bunch of CRs that are overloading the API server, it's not uncommon for an admin to just go like look for CRs to go clean up, right? Like the name of the game is get the API server back up. And so like, you know, Tecton, Argo workflows are common places for people to go look for old CRs to delete. And so I also worry about if there's an admin that goes and deletes workflows before they're supposed to, before they hit their TTL, then we would be in a situation where database records would get deleted earlier, or if we did like a logic guard check in the API server where we said, a workflow got deleted, should I delete my database row? It could check to see if the TTL has been hit and not deleted unless it has. But then again, like that's an edge triggering thing, and the edge only happened once. The trigger only happens when the workflow is deleted. So again, you're kind of in a situation where you're leaking rows. So that's kind of like, I think it's probably a little bit easier to use workflow deletion as a trigger, but I think it can be leaky. It's kind of my main thought. I babbled a lot. Hopefully that made sense, folks. Yeah, kind of my take.
I think that we definitely need a diagram and design doc to have like a meaningful discussion about this. So I would highly encourage you, Ricardo, to like formulate one and like either surface it in the issue or PR, and then we can kind of get some comments on it. But we can certainly keep talking about it here. We don't have that much time. But one thing, so your former point, Greg, I'm wondering what happens with scheduled workflows and when those get deleted. Is there so like with the core of, I think what you're talking about is the state of the CRs something that it needs to be consistent with the database, right? And if so, then we need to constantly be doing checks to make sure that that is the case, right? That the database is consistent with the view of Kubernetes for the resources that we care about. The way right now, my thinking is the way that Kubeflow pipelines is designed is that's not necessarily the case, because persistent agent is an agent that is a controller. So and its whole point is to persist data based on the state of Kubernetes, and whatever, I think the point you make feels like it applies in scheduled workflow controller as well, or scheduled workflow resources, but I'm not 100% sure. So I think that's one thing we should probably want to take a look at. But yeah, I think my current thinking is that we should probably get some ADRs and design docs out, and ideally a diagram. Any other comments about this? Okay, cool. So hopefully that's clear. Ricardo, you have a point for calendar invite?
Yeah, just an informative one. Following the changes we did with the from Google Meet to Zoom, I just added a PR to change the calendar invites. So, oh boy, yeah, it was so fast. So when we get this merge, then probably we'll sync up all the calendar invites to move from Google Meet to Zoom.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great. Definitely should get that merged. Thank you for following up on that. Anything else regarding calendar invite? All right. Greg, you still have your hands raised, by the way. Valentina.
Yes, hi. So I was wondering if we can do like a quick review of the features that you had planned for the 2.4 as part of the release 1.10. Yeah, it would be very useful for me that I'm new in the project, and I am assuming that for others as well that are just joining this meeting.
We can certainly do that. We have, so I don't know if you have seen our milestone, yeah, so I guess you linked it here. This is our 2.4 milestone. Obviously, what's already closed, hopefully, so yeah, what's closed are the feature/bugs that are going in. Everything that is labeled a bug is the bug. The features are, would you like me to go through them one by one, or do you feel like the information presented here is sufficient?
No,
If
I
not-
think if you can highlight what do you think are the main features that are critical for this release, that will help me understand, instead of just that I can review on my own.
Okay, yeah. So I would say the sub DAG, the first issue here that you see, this one is a pretty important one. It gets nested pipelines working. Let's see. This is more of a UI slice of life feature. We have and also like pretty slice of life feature. First time, there's some optimizations on UI speed. That would be this one. And okay, what else? Artifacts of components. So we're targeting parallel loops as well for 2.4. I think that would be a pretty big one as well. So support loop parallelism. That'll be one. The TTL one would be another. We're targeting these for 2.4. And that is what sticks out to me, I think. And being able to parameterize secrets, I think this is pretty useful too. This one, I'm not sure if we're gonna get this one done, but if we can fix this, this will also be a pretty useful feature. Oh, well, it's more of a regression fix, but it's worth pointing out in the release notes, I think. I'm guessing we note bugs as well.
Thank you.
Sorry, that was a bit disorganized. If you want, I can clarify further in Slack, or there's also the recording as well. I'll be uploading it to YouTube afterwards. So
yeah, no, I think it's good because I can go and take a look in more details. I'm just thinking loudly here. Will it be useful also to add like a label to say like what are the main features on a release that maybe that are like very important as part of the release, and something that it could be even block the release. Like I think it will be interesting for for other people and the community as a whole, like to understand okay what is part. We have discussion like what is part of the pipelines, what's meant is doing the release important, right? What are the main features that we can expect? Yeah, would you be open to do something around that maybe? And I don't know, Ricardo is the release manager and part of the team. I'm just thinking right now.
I mean, I'm open to the idea. It'd be nice to know what the other components in Kubeflow are doing, and maybe we can like synchronize so that it's much easier for whoever's handling releases to be able to consistently follow the same method. So if you're standardizing on a label, it's fine with us. I think as long as like it's consistent. So maybe this is something worth bringing up at the Kubeflow community call. And yeah. We already like note our features. You're asking for like the notable features. So like maybe some, I don't know what that looks like, but it would be nice to get the thoughts of other components.
Yeah, it's when you plan the release and you're saying, hey, the critical features are, I don't know, security, this, that, and maybe you have like 3 mains that they need to be ready no matter I don't know no matter what, but they are the critical ones. And then you have other things that sometimes, you finish and it's a good and more like a nice to have, and then it gets included in the release. But I was thinking more into that. But yeah, great discussions. I will sync up with Ricardo and see. I think standardization is key. I love what you're saying. Hey, let's talk with the other teams and find out a way to make, I'm trying because I'm new. I just trying to how we can make this information more accessible to the rest of the teams and understand easily what is that we are releasing. So I think that will help. That I will follow up with Ricardo and the rest of the teams, and we can have more discussions in the next meetings. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for listening. It's been great.
No worries. All right. Thank you for bringing this up. Okay.
Of course.
So that's it for our agenda items. We are also 2 minutes over for it. So thank you everyone who stayed over. Yeah, so see you next time.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
Thanks for running. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.